Good morning! Welcome back to my channel, and today is quite an exciting day because I recently joined FAIRE Wholesale. So if you don't know FAIRE, FAIRE is a wholesale platform that allow candle maker, but also any kind of makers around the world to sell their product to independent stores in countries that you would not probably deliver to. So I'm based in the UK, so I've only ever worked with UK and EU stockists, but because of FAIRE, I'm able to offer my product to people in the US. Yes, you guys that are watching my videos, in Australia as well, in Canada. So this is really opening things up for me for wholesale, which is really, really exciting. And I received my first order. So I'm going to take you behind the scene. We're going to make it. And I'm also going to give you some tips around demolding candle. Let's get making. Now it's time to go to the studio. So everything's ready, melter's on, and I'm gonna fast forward and start to pour my wax. So I've checked the temperature and I'm gonna be ready to pour every single candle. So that day was quite warm in my studio, which is great setup for a good smooth top candle. Tapping is something that I've learned from all my fellow makers, and they do that with concrete, but it works really well with wax. Here we go, all poured, now we wait. It's the next day and it's time to demold the candle. You'll see that there's no dips, there's no sinkhole, it's all really flat, and this is down to the pouring temperature and the fact that yesterday in my studio was quite warm, so it was a good weather to pour candles. I'm pretty chuffed by the smooth top that I have. I'm just going to show you around and we'll get demolding. Here we go. So this is the top of my candles. So very little work needed to, to prep them. So I've got this one to pick up with an heat gun, but not bad. This ones tend to dip. So if you do have this mold, they tend to dip. So it's really, really important to have the pouring temperature. There's a tiny dip, so I can correct that easily with a heat gun, but this is not a sinkhole. This is just a little dip around the wick. Really, really, really smooth, as you can see. Here we go. So those type of molds, they will come with a little frame to make sure that the mold does not expand. And this is just to keep the shape of your candle. You'll see that I don't use my nails to pull apart, and I'm going to do that on both sides. This is to prevent nail marks and also to make sure that the mold does not come off too fast, which can lead to breakage, and you want to avoid that. When you've got like enough grip, you want to put your finger inside and keep pulling. I put it on the table, on the surface, and I push it out from the outside of the mold to prevent any breakage. As you can see, I've got no bubbles, so this is thanks to the tapping. I've got a really good finish. The consistency of the wax, everything is really like nice. For this big knot, I'm just gonna pull on the side. It's fairly easy. There's very limited risk of breakage with this mold. I don't think I've ever broke one. The only reason you would get a candle to break in this instance would be because you're not using the right wax. Get your finger in as per the last time, and then turn your mold around and push with your thumbs on the outside. And then you're gonna have to just go in and just gently pull. This one is really simple to demold. There's limited risk of breakage. I've got a really smooth looking candle. So this one, because there's so many like so many like texture on the candle, it is quite often that there's going to be some trapped air bubble or textural issue. So we'll see. On this one, again, I used the bottom of my thumb to gently pull the mold away. Again, at that point, if you see that there's any wax coming off the candle, you probably need to let it sit more, or obviously double check that you're using the right wax, because for that kind of mold you need to have a good pillar wax, as in you need the wax to be hard enough to pull apart when you take the mold, because you're gonna see I'm not gonna be gentle with this one. You need to kind of go for it, because as you can see here, the mold literally goes in between. So you really need to come and really go and get it. So if the wax is not the correct wax, you're never going to be able to get one candle out of this mold. So once you're able to put your finger, you're going to go for it. Again, you need to trust your wax in here. I think this one is quite mesmerizing. I think looking at it is quite cool. This bad boy, the Apollo candle, is not that hard to demold, but there is one thing that is tricky, is there is a piece of here, which is kind of like the movement of the scarf is wearing, that is tricky and can break. So there's a few bits that you need to be mindful of. The first, you can go for it. Again, you need to, some molds you're gonna have to go with some level of force. I always do the sock thing, which is basically rolling the mold on itself. So this is that bit that is tricky, as you can see. This is the part that I was talking about that can be difficult, and I remember when I demolded it first, I broke it because I was not mindful of it. So it's important to keep that in mind. Ta-da! Okay, so this bad boy is a heavy one. This candle is 1.2 kilos of wax, so not joking about, like, just look at my hand. It's not hard to demold, there's no angles or things to be mindful of, but because it's big and heavy, it's hard to manipulate. And the mold itself is quite thick, so you really need to really pull. See how thick the mold is in here? So it requires a bit more strength to take the candle out. It's so satisfying to see them all laid out like this. Trimming the wick and doing quality control and making sure everything is there for that order, and we'll be packing them individually ready for shipping. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to follow. I'll see you soon.